So I think there's so much in there for the fans that we did put in, especially for them. I think they're going to love it.
Would you look at that? A ladder! Unfortunately, my design doesn't facilitate this type of...
Hi Eli, it's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm really excited to be here with you. Last time you were here in Mexico, I didn't have the chance to meet you, but now I'm really eager to talk to you about Borderlands, your new movie. And first of all, I wanted to know, how did Borderlands come to your hands? Were you a fan of the franchise? Was it something you sought out? Or...
Yeah, it was. I knew the games and I was a fan of the games, and I found out that they were looking for a director. So I went in and met with the producers and pitched, and then they loved my ideas. And I talked to Randy Pitchford, the game creator, and he really liked me. And we went to the studio and said, "This is what we want to do," and that was it.
Nice. So, the Borderlands games have a really distinct visual aesthetic.
Hmm.
How did you manage to, to convey this type of aesthetic into a live action movie?
Well, I looked at movies like Barbarella and The Fifth Element,
Yeah.
and some of the sci-fi films that are just totally insane. Star Wars, of course, but Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies, where you're just every time you go to a new scene or a new city or a new part of the city, you're like, whoa, what is this place?
Yeah.
And that was the approach we took, is like, how do we make it visually spectacular? But I worked very closely with Gearbox and got all the assets from the art department. And my production designer, Andrew Menzies, and we really we wanted all the weapons to be exact, because we know people love the weapons in Borderlands, the Atlas, the Hyperion, the doll guns, and the architecture of the buildings, the way it looks, the distinct colors. So we looked at different sets, different environments, and picked our favorite ones and said, this is what Sanctuary City will be. Let's get a piece of this here, a piece of that there.
Yeah.
But it was great to have, Randy, the game creator. There's stuff that he did digitally that we had to really figure out how to engineer and do in the real world, like the Outrunner. So we built one that Kate could climb on and off. But Claptrap was all digital, so we had like a stuffy Claptrap that was just like a plastic one that was the size reference. Then I would act out Claptrap during the scenes. Then we'd do it without me, and so it was a long process, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so actually talking about fans, how much, if at all, does fans' speculations impact on the creative decisions of Borderlands?
Well, when you're making stuff, you're very obviously conscious of the fan base, but
Yeah.
all I think about is my job is to make the best movie. You're never going to get everybody to agree with you on
Yeah.
anything. So I said, well, if we're going to change something, I need to have a really smart reason for why we did it.
Yeah,
And there's certain stuff that works in the game that when you translate it into a movie,
exactly.
either the character becomes annoying or it doesn't make logical sense why they would be screaming that way in this scene. Whereas in the game it does, but in the movie, in that moment, so you need to find other layers to the character. So it really is an adaptation. And Randy said to me, like, the game's the games and the movie's the movie. Like, just focus on making a great movie. So I think there's so much in there for the fans that we did put in, especially for them. I think they're going to love it. And I also wanted to make a movie that you didn't have to do homework. I don't want people to feel like they have to play the game to get the movie. I want people who've never played the game before to go, oh, that looks fun, and just have a great night at the movies. And then maybe go try and play the game after they've seen the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's I think that's great that you are also like reaching for audiences that never played before, or even that people who don't like video games or
I didn't want it to look or feel like a video game movie. Fifth Element was what I wanted. Aliens. I wanted just a great, fun, big Star Wars, Mad Max kind of science fiction film.
Yeah, so talking about your filmmaking style, you are known for pushing boundaries on your storytelling. Was there any moment in your career where you had to to take a creative leap, and how much does that impact in your growth as a filmmaker?
That's a great question. Making movies is a faith-based system. You just have to hope to God it works out. And so much of Borderlands, the world of the planet, the backgrounds, you have to create digitally or extending the sets, or there's different moons and stars and different ships that are flying. So
Yeah.
you have a robot, it's a major character that's full CGI. So you have to have faith that it's going to work out, and you got to work closely with the artists to oversee it, work with your visual effects supervisor. So that's scary because the movie doesn't look like the movie you want until the end. When I make a horror movie, I shoot a scene, and you see the blood and you chop the head off and you go, we got it. When you're making Borderlands, even though a lot of it is practical and a lot of it's on set, you know, even the way the guns fire and the guns move and the, you know, the bullets they're shooting, that's full CGI. So you're not really seeing what it's going to look like with a full rendered claptrap until all the effects are in.
Yeah.
So there is the scary process where you're making the movie and there's blue screens and wires, but you know, there's other, that's why as much practical as I tried to do, we did. Like when I said, Kate, you know, everyone loves you with the conductor stick. I really want to see you with a flamethrower. And she learned how to use it, and she was flamethrowing and stunt people or falling backwards and flying. I mean, that's what's fun is we had, you know, 200 stunt people that I was throwing at the actors. The actors wanted to do fights. They all wanted to do their own fighting. So there's one sequence where the camera's just following them around and they're just kicking ass, and it just goes on and on and on. And you really get to, you believe that they're the characters. Oh yeah, he's a soldier. She's a bounty hunter. She's totally out of her mind. He's a warrior. Like, you know, he's a bandit. Like, you really get to see them do it. It's not a cutaway. It's not CGI. It's not a stunt double. It's the actors doing it and also being funny and in great dramatic scenes. So the movie's really got everything. I think every actor pushed themselves in a way they never had before.
Wow, that seems like a really fun movie. And for my last question, I wanted to know, like, talking about pushing boundaries, you've created a lot of discussion among the audience between on your use of violence in movies. You know, how do you navigate this fine line between pushing boundaries but also, you know, like I don't know, like caring about the society's.
I love violent movies. I mean, there's so much violence, whatever we do. Violence comes from misunderstanding, religious fanaticism, all kinds of crazy things, why people are violent. I love violence in movies because it's a special effect. It's a representation of violence. It's so fun. It's the way we exercise our fears. We see all these things in the real world and we're afraid of it, but then when you see it in a story, you can let it out. And I think that every movie, it's like an ingredient. For me, honestly, gore, violence, action. It's like, I love making pizza. So if you have too much cheese, it gets too watery and the crust collapses, the dough collapses, and you're left with a steering wheel crust. So you need like the right balance. And if you have too much sauce, it like soaks out and starts to boil and messes with the cheese. So you need the right balance of the tomato sauce, the mozzarella, just like a little bit here, a little bit there. And when you get it perfect, that's your perfect pizza. It's not like adding more makes it better. You need just enough. And I want the audience cheering and going, what happens next? And when it's horror, a little bit scared. When it's Borderlands, I want them excited, going, that was amazing. How are they ever going to top that? And then, oh my God, they did it. What's coming next? What's coming next?
Yeah, like I can really see it in just the trailer, but I can really feel that.
Thank you.
And that was a perfect analogy between pizza and violence. I love it.
Yeah.
So it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your time.